Welcome back, everybody. We're here with another update on the 1/350 scale USS Grissom that we're building. If you guys remember where we left off in the last video, we had the pretty much the whole bottom half, the main assembly of it done, and I was starting to do some of the paint work. And I was talking about how I'm starting from the very bottom and working my way up, kind of stacking the model up as I go. And that method has been working out really good. I've gone back now and I've finished all the paint detail on the lower part before I went ahead and glued the upper deck on here. And basically all I added since you saw it last time was some more, there's some paint detail on the panels on the inside of the pylons there that you can, hopefully you can see that. And then I painted the blue pin striping around the back here. And we added some of the paint detail on the top. There's a blue panel at the very back, and then there's a white panel that crosses over in the very middle of that. So we got all that done, and then we put the decals on it. And the decals went really, really nice, guys. I didn't have one single problem with them. It's just amazing to me on these model kits that you can get one set of decals nowadays that just is almost unusable, and the next set you get from the same model company is like the best decals you've ever used. So they've just got some really inconsistent, you know, manufacturing with those going on for some reason. But I'm just really glad these did work out. They do look really nice. You get decals to do two different versions of the ship from era-wise anyway, whether you want to do the Grissom, which has different markings, and then the next generation version, which has some of the stripes are a little bit more, they have like an extra white stripe next to them and stuff like that. But we did it all in the Grissom markings, and we got our big stripe there on the bottom, and our belly lights all working, and everything's looking really nice. Maybe you can see a little bit of that panel detail from this side. And then we've got the back panel that we put on here with our impulse engine. I haven't glued in the little lens that goes in very last, so I'll have to diffuse that and put that on. But so that's all wrapped up as far as that goes. The bottom half of the plate's been painted. So what we're up to now, guys, is I'm getting ready to seal this up. And before I did, I wanted to talk about what I ran into here in the back. Now, we had these two navigation lights that had to light up at the very back here on this deck area. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on and show you what I mean. You've got the left, you know, the port side and the starboard side, the green and the red there. And then there's also one on the bottom in the corner that you're supposed to see from below. Well, what they do is they have these little blocks right here, and these are molded in clear. And the idea is that you're supposed to, there's kind of a little socket on the back side of these, and it looks like it's made for a 3mm LED to kind of the forward part of it to kind of fit in there. And what they want you to do is they want you to light block these, paint them, and then you come in and you scrape off a little bit of paint where there's a little, you can see the little tip of this thing that sticks up on the front part. And on the bottom, they have a little pin that kind of comes down, and that goes into the hole there and goes through the bottom, and you're supposed to get a point of light on the bottom. Well, I've tried using that method before, and I think back on the Katinga kit, they had something similar to that. And I definitely wasn't happy with how it looked. The lighting just didn't come through as clear and as bright as I wanted it to where it matched up with, you know, you can see that red there in the corner now. It looks very similar to this one over here, where using the method that they had you doing, it looked a lot dimmer than that, and you could barely see it, and you couldn't see it hardly at all on the bottom side. And so I just didn't really like that. So what I wound up doing is I shaved off those little pins, took my pin vise with a 0.75 millimeter drill bit on it, and I just drilled those out and made a channel through there, and used some fiber optic and pushed it in there instead. And so it comes right up and touches against my little 0805 SMD that I've used on each side. I had to use SMDs instead of LEDs there because my LEDs, the red and the green, were like a little bit different shade of color than the other ones, and I wanted them to match, you know, so I wound up doing that. And that way I was able to get my light. You can see the light looks really, really good coming out of there. And there's some on the bottom here too, if I can show you. You can see we got our green and our red coming through really good on the bottom now, where, as I said before, you couldn't even hardly see it. So you may wind up coming up with a different way of doing yours, and maybe for you it'll work just fine, but it just didn't look good to me. It just didn't light up the same. The other issue was, guys, is that these were molded in clear, and they have a lot of like little kind of nooks and cranny detail on them. no matter how much I tried to spray paint those, they kept having like massive light leaks all over the place. And what I wound up doing finally was I just took a brush with some of my black craft acrylic paint and brushing them. That way I could get into all the little recessed areas and stuff and get it to finally stop leaking light. And then I came back over the top of it with my airbrush with some gunmetal gray to kind of finish off what I was trying to do back here. But yeah, that was kind of a pain too. But you know, in the end, it worked out. It kind of reminded me of on the Discovery Enterprise when I built that one. That tail cap at the end that molded in clear was a real bugger to get that light block too. But I suggest just hand painting it to begin with, and then doing what you're going to do. So that was just something I wanted to give you a heads up on. So I've got all the wires set up now. We got power that'll come through the little opening in the plate on the upper part. That's going to be the power for our strip LED that we're going to use to light up the upper and lower dome. And then all the other little circuits have been hooked up in here. So we got our navigation and strobe lights wires split off and ready to pull through, because we've got a navigation light at the front part of the nacelle and a strobe at the rear. And then we've got one more strobe light at the top of the dome here. Okay, so we'll have everything there for that. Everything's ready to be pulled through. So I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on it now. I'll come back and show you with the lid glued down. There'll probably be a little bit of seam work to do on that, but we'll have our wires all pulled up through, and we'll be getting closer and closer to the final assembly here, you guys, because I'll be able to put the nacelle caps on, get the wiring set up for those, and then put the dome on top and do all the rest of the paint work and decaling there. Now, a lot of you guys are asking about the decals from HDA Model Works. I haven't seen them yet, so I don't know what he's going to include, but I'm getting an idea that there's going to be some decals for this area right here, where on the studio model there was a lot of like Aztec different shades of blue and light grays and stuff that were all mixed together. So that would be nice to help cover all that up without having to paint that. I think there's going to be some more detail for the bottom, the upper deck here, but the bottom side of that, which I'm not going to really worry about because you can't see it that well. And there'll probably be some more for the upper deck up here, the top plate, which that's no problem. I can put that on, and I can always come back and put those decals on when they get here. And then beyond that, I'm not too sure, you guys, but that's my kind of idea what Jerry was telling me was going to happen. So we should get those probably in another week or so is what I'm hearing. So we might have to slow down a little bit on the build here, but let me get the top plate put on, and then we'll come back and show you how that's turning out. Be right back. Okay, so we're moving right along here, you guys, and you can see what I've got now is I've got the wiring completed here up at the top of the saucer. So I'm ready to drop the saucer lid down. Wanted to show you what I've got done here. This is the location I came up with for the LED strip to light up all of our windows on our saucer. We've got to make sure we've got a complete circle here, so I just made I spaced these out about 1.5 inches apart, and we've got them all 4 corners. Now, I didn't have to put any lighting facing straight down to light up the lower windows of the saucer, because we're just bouncing the light off the top and it comes right back down and hits the bottom, and I checked it out and it looks really good, so we're happy with that. I've got all of the wiring set up here. You remember that we had our wires pulled through, everything all set up and ready to go. So we had the power wire, which comes in right there, you can see, and then we just tie that into each one of these strips of LED tape, so that whenever we turn the power on, those are always on. And then we had a navigation light here at the side, on each side of the saucer, in red and green, so another 0805 SMD was used for each one of those. And then we've got a strobe light here at the top of the saucer, which a white 0805 SMD was used for that. So that was all tied into our circuit, the same wires that we pulled through for our navigation and strobe lights. So that's all set up. Now what I did is I went in here and I glued everything down really flat. You can see that it's important, especially on a small model like this. You want to make sure all your wiring is laying down there secure and flat. The only wire that's loose is the one that goes to the top, and that's for obvious reasons, because I've got to have a little bit of slack in that to close this thing up. But all the wiring that we could, we've got that all completely glued down so it can't move. You don't want it to be moving around in there. You don't want it to get in front of any of your windows or anything and create a shadow. You might be able to tell that even around what I did here is you can see where I glued the wires. I made sure I glued away from all the windows so the wires can't jump over and get in front of a window. Same thing there on the bottom. You can see I've got that in a gap in between the 2 windows there. So it's all set up and ready to go. I'm going to be closing this up here, and I tested this a couple times. This lid's a little bit tricky. There's a really minute sort of even though you got these locating pegs, there's kind of a little minute little soft spot or sweet spot, I should say, where you'll feel it kind of click and it'll just go down in there, perfect. I was trying to put it down and it looked good. It looked like it was lined up, but it wasn't fitting really good all the way around. There'd either be a gap on one side or the other, and I just kept fooling around with it, and finally I just felt it click and it dropped right down on there, and it actually sealed up really good. I'll power this up for you and show you that what we did here too is we light blocked all of these SMDs and this strobe here at the top with some black craft paint. And it takes 2 or 3 times of doing that because it'll keep leaking on you. You gotta let it dry and then come back and keep touching it up. Just do it with a brush. But that's important too because we don't want any flashing lights to be showing up in our windows, like a red light blinking in some of the windows or whatever. And again, that's really important on a really small model like this where everything is, really close to it, the next lighted source. So here's a look at the bottom. You can see our navigation lights there and our little strobe there at the bottom in the center part of the saucer. And then, of course, you can't see anything blinking in here, but on the top we've got a little blinking strobe light there. So we're all set. I'm going to go ahead and get this glued down, you guys, and get this all looking nice, and we'll come back and show you the final with the saucer all together. Then we're going to pretty much end this video, and we'll come back with the final video working on the nacelles. So I'll be right back with the saucer all closed up. Okay, everybody, I'm back with you again, and like our old friend Gomer Pyle used to say, surprise, surprise, surprise. I took this a little bit farther than getting just the saucer top put down, you guys. I got on a little bit of a roll here and just kept on going and got the model all finished up last evening. The only thing that you missed here was me putting the nacelles together, and it's pretty straightforward right out of the box per the instructions. The only thing that we did is we added our SMDs up in the corners here, and all 4 corners we have whites in the back and a red and a green. And that worked out really good. We just used a little clear plastic inserts and light block those, and they actually work pretty good up here on the top. So this is how the model turned out, you guys. I'm really happy with it. I did a lot of paint work here on the nacelles, painting on all these different panels and everything, which I think looks really sharp, kind of following along with the tone of the same shades of blue and this nice green color that we have for the blowout panels and everything. Really turned out nice. I want to show you guys this little stuff right here. This is called Tamiya washi tape. This is really, really good, guys, if you want to do some really precise masking and doing like pin stripes and like that, because you're not going to get any kind of bleed of the paint if you do a really nice job with your airbrush and just put light coats on. You can see I had to paint on these little pin stripes here on the nacelles, and I was kind of worried about how those were going to turn out, but it looks really good. And you don't get that with the kit decals, so we used this little washi tape here, and it worked out really, really good. So I just kind of referenced the box art there and just kind of follow it along. These little panel lines right here on the inside and the outside are the kit decals. Now, the strange thing about this kit is that you'll see on these nacelles there's a bunch of really nice panel detail on the top, but when it gets down to the sides here, it's absolutely totally flat, like the mold almost didn't come through. So I think that's why they provided these little panel decals here to kind of make up for that. And they actually do look really good. I kind of went back and forth of whether I wanted to put them on or not, but I'm glad that I did. Now, I talked to Jerry the other night, last night, about the decal set that's coming out for this. A lot of you guys are asking about it. It's going to be a little while. These are going to be really complex. He's going to be covering a lot of areas on the model. The top deck here, the bottom of the deck, the fan tail, some other areas. And so it was going to be about a month or so. So I decided to go ahead and do my own thing here with the Aztecs. You can see I've got some paneling down here on the top, and I've also got some on the fan tail down here, and there's some on the bottom deck. What I wound up using for that is these are 1/350 scale Enterprise refit decals from the Aztec set that used to come with the old kit. And I never use these because I always wind up painting those on with iridescent paints whenever I build that model. So I just kind of cut out some shapes here and put them in where I thought they would look good. And I like them because they're nice and subtle. The actual Aztecing on this studio model is a little bit more bold than that, but in the film you can't really see them at all. So I thought they should be kind of faint looking at this scale, and I think the shapes look really good. They're the right size because the refit's also a 1/350 scale kit, and it worked out really, really good, and it saved me a whole lot of headaches of spending hours, painting those on. So I saved from having to buy a mask set too. I just, basically painted all this stuff by hand with my own, masking tape and stuff like that. Here's a little look at the bottom of it. This forward decal right here that goes all the way across, that I want to talk to you guys about, because what you want to do with that is when you cut it off of the decal paper, you want to cut like right along the lines of the edges of the color on that, and then hold this up to this this actual edge here, and you're going to see that it's going to be a little bit too wide. So what you want to do is trim that down so it's the exact right width. Trim a little bit off the top and a little off the bottom so it's even, and then put it on that way. Otherwise, you're going to have problems with that, overhanging and wrinkling and stuff like that. So that came from a tip from one of the other guys out there that built one of these. I forgot his name, but he pointed that out, so it saved me some trouble, and I did the same exact thing, and it went on there really nice. But we've got all of our little multiple colors going on here, and all of our Aztecs down on it. It came out really good. We just got on this basic base for now. I'll go ahead and power it up, and you can see that the lighting works out really nice on this. The window detail on this model is really nice for this scale, and it's all nice and crisp. If I had to do this again, I think what I might do it would be to go back and kind of black some of these windows out here and there randomly, just to give it a little bit more, I don't know, I think there's almost too many windows where it's almost too much. But, it's not bad. At least they look really crisp and really clean, and they all light really evenly. And you can see with that, just those 4 little segments of LED tape, it lights up this whole saucer on the top and the bottom really good. The lights come through on the bottom really nice, too. So that worked out good. You can see all of our little navigation lights blinking. This ship has a lot of navigation lights all over it. And I'm kind of glad we went with the off and on the navigation lights, because as many of there as there are, I think they would have looked too busy if they were on all the time. So going back to this little HLI control board again, I want to show you guys this effect here on the impulse engine. I really like what they did. They've got like a kind of a slow ramping up and down in brightness with a pulsing effect going on at the same time. And it looks really cool. It's a different effect than I've seen before for an impulse engine, and I really like what they did. Congratulations, HLI team. You guys are knocking these things out of the park. I mean, you couldn't ask for a easier to use board, good price. It's just really, it fit in the model perfectly, and the lighting looks fantastic, and it was very easy to understand the instructions and everything. So I think it's going to help a lot of beginners out there that want to try one of those boards for the first time. I highly recommend it. But it really brought the model to life, and we've got all of our detailing done and everything, so really happy. I just dusted this down with a coat of semi-flat, and I think we just got got a nice sheen on there. I did a little bit of shading on the grill there, kind of similar to what's on the box art, which I think looks good. And yeah, I'm just really, really happy with this. Really nice little kit. It's going to look really nice, next to a 350 refit, which I don't have right now. I'm going to have to build another one here pretty soon. I've sold all the ones that I built, so I need to build one for myself one of these days. I've got tons of, I've got all the aftermarket stuff for that, including the Tenant Controls mega board set up and everything. So maybe later towards the end of summer, or maybe next winter, that'll be a project. It's just going to be a 4 or 5 month long deal whenever I get into one of those. That's why you don't see me building those very often, but I'm all set up to build one, and I've got everything I need. So maybe one of these days, and this would be a great companion piece for that. So, but anyways, here's the little Grissom. Again, you can look for the decal set coming out from Jerry in about a month or so. I'll probably do a little review of it here on the channel once that comes in. And I may build another one of these, and I'll use that decal set. I may do, a different ship, like the Oberth or one of the other ship names in this class or whatever, because I just really like the model. I think it's a nice little design. It really has grown on me since I've built it. When I first saw it in the movie, I didn't really think that much of it, but yeah, it's pretty cool. When you look at this thing, I think it would be really neat if just this top section was a ship itself, or that could separate or whatever, because that would be a really spiffy looking little ship there with just the deck and the nacelles and the saucer there, almost kind of original Romulan Bird of Prey-esque, if you want to kind of say only a Federation version, kind of a, if it was armed with phasers and stuff, it might be kind of a neat little light cruiser or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, really, really cool. So I hope you guys enjoyed this build series. We had a lot of fun with it. I'm going to be coming back probably towards the end of next week. I'm going to take a little bit of a break here, and then we're going to start on the 1/48 scale Hawk from Space 1999, that brand new kit. That's going to be a lot of fun. It's got a lot of opportunity to do some really cool painting on it and some detailing. And if it's anything like the Eagle kit was, it's going to be an awesome kit to build. So I hope you guys will tune in and check that one out. I'm excited to get started on it. And then who knows what's next after that, you guys. But thanks for following along. Thanks for subscribing and watching our videos. I really appreciate it. And again, all the kind comments and support, that really means a lot here. And we like to share what we can and you know, share everybody else and what they're doing and everything in this community. So it's been great. We're going to call it a wrap, everybody. We'll see you next time. There'll be a few pictures of the model here at the end. Until then, take care and happy modeling out there, everybody.